That was the third time that I got arrested.
Hey guys, welcome to 5 Minute Men.
Don't do that.
And none of us have definitely never, ever been arrested ever. 3 times, never.
Ever.
Maybe 4. Prostitution?
Yeah,
Nobody paid for anything.
It was free. It was a donation.
it was a barter, if anything.
I was really hungry, so living on the street, it was a fair trade. Also, pause like the podcast. There was something that you said, Tyler, in the last one, fairly early on about Carol Baskin being a prostitute, and how part of your argument was that we don't know any prostitutes because you can't trust them.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of problematic, so I thought I'd just air that out, just for the future. I don't want anybody to like watch that video and be like, "Ooh."
Oh, like think it's offensive?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I thought about cutting it out, but it's a joke. And then I thought,
is a joke.
Well, you know what? If some of our viewers are prostitutes,
I think most of our viewers are prostitutes.
I hope they are. Yeah.
Watching YouTube videos like, oh man,
Watching
I love
3 white
love
dudes
these guys.
talk about Carol Baskin.
Yeah.
Hey, they're solving racism today.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not doing the intro. This is your fucking show, Tyler.
It's our show.
It is our show. Cutter, you do it.
When it succeeds, it's our show. If it fails, it's Tyler's.
It's all Tyler's.
You guys are great friends. Great friends. And anyway,
you almost did it. That was great.
Yep, you were so
almost,
You almost like I was gonna let you grow
close
into
to
it.
doing it. What's up, you farfig noogans? We're 5 Minute Men. And this is the podcast where we solve the world's problems in 5 minutes by pulling random problems out of a random hat and coming up with random solutions and voting on who's the randomest.
Waffles.
Trucks.
RXD.
I feel like you just offended a lot of Farfaflugans out there. Just saying.
Farfig noogans.
Oh, sorry.
All the Volkswagen drivers are pissed off.
Yeah.
All right, what's in the white fedora? What's happening?
Right.
Immigration. That's a good one.
Nice, yeah.
Immigration.
You want a country?
Immigration.
Like a U.S. issue, right?
Ooh, that's a
Yes.
good distinction. Yeah, just between Mexico and U.S. or
I was
Or I
thinking
guess just- I
Canada
guess
and
just-
U.S.
Oh, Canada, U.S. They're very those desperate people to get out of that cold climate.
Yeah.
yeah, I hear Mexico's freezing cold these days. Sorry, bad joke.
Who do you hear that from? I was gonna say like.
It was a bad joke.
Fake
I
news.
have a dumb brain.
I get all my news from the Onion.
What's Chris' news?
Not the show. He has like an onion in the corner.
Like an actual onion.
Yeah, you talk to.
Tyler, I told you not to bring that up with anybody. It's a very private relationship that I have with me and my onion. I'd appreciate if you respected it.
Onions have layers.
And emotional.
Fucking hate you. Wrote down immigration.
Gosh, we're off to a good start.
He set a timer for 5 minutes.
I just envisioned, that SpongeBob meme where he goes, imagination, but it just says immigration.
So far, I have built a maze.
That will just delay immigration.
It's just a labyrinth in order to get, like, people walk halfway through. They're like, fuck it. Like, I'm going back. But then they can't because they're lost.
And then you become a citizen of the maze.
Yes. People change in the maze.
David Bowie's just sitting on a tower watching everyone below.
For real?
Time is up.
Jesus, that was quick.
I'm on metric minutes.
Oh, that's right. So they're shorter. That makes sense.
Is it because they weigh less?
Seconds? Yeah. Yeah, they're a little bit, they have less mass.
Metric seconds.
Mm-hmm. Technically, if time weighed less, it would go by slower, right?
That'd be lighter. It'd float faster.
Float faster. Wait, time doesn't float. Fuck this argument. I hate it. Who's going first?
But it'd be denser, so it's seeing faster as well.
Well, I'm thinking of like relativity.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, so it's like fatter than its friends, or
Well, according
Tyler
to
looks confused.
Galileo's third
This
law
is-
of thermodynamics, the sun be hot.
Yep.
This is what Hawking was talking about before he died.
now that's what I'm hawking about.
I mean, he was more of like pressing about it. But
God damn it.
I'm sorry. That's what he was typing about before.
Am I right?
I'll cut that out. Definitely.
Nope, leave it in, coward.
Okay. I mean, I said the prostitution thing. So.
That's true. You gotta own it.
As-
All right, white men. How are we gonna fix this?
Well, let me tell you. I'll go first. So, immigration. I think Tyler brought up a pretty good point in the interim. What is the problem with immigration? What problems do people in our country have with immigration? I think that kind of boils down to three main topics, kind of jobs and economic stress, frustration with illegal immigration as far as people moving here legally or not following the process, making them exempt from, taxes and such. So I think people feel like they don't contribute. I've had conversations with some people that feel like there's a culture loss with allowing too much immigration over, as far as people from other countries bringing over their own culture and thus
Patriotism, sort of, and like nationalism.
I guess whatever you'd call American culture. Some people have very strong roots based on their area, whatever it may be. The idea of a lot of people from another place moving in with who are different than you is definitely frightening to some people, I believe. With the jobs and economy issue, I think that one solution for it might be imposing some kind of limitation on legal immigration per year. I think America has always been very open to immigration. Obviously, it's one of the things we kind of pride ourselves on as being founded by immigrants from all different places. I don't think that's a bad thing about America. I think it's one of the thing that actually makes us great. But a problem is that I think that we have some outdated legal procedure that goes on with immigration, such as when someone's born on American soil, they become an American citizen. That was legally set up, I believe, to encourage people to move into the unexplored and kind of uncivilized territories up in the north, where obviously they could grow civilization and they could kind of expand and have some kind of control over that land. But I think that maybe in this modern era where we can actually monitor and see kind of this, if we find that there's problems economically, I don't think that there's an issue with putting a limit on that. Now, taking into account that we do have refugees that we allow in, and we have other people that are allowed in under special circumstances. So I think we just keep that in mind with these limits. But I think that for the longest time, it's kind of just been free reign on anyone who wants can just apply and can immigrate to America. I know that the process is not as simple as it should be, or as simple as it sounds or is made out to be. However, I think in the modern day age, there's nothing wrong with putting limits on such things. Another thing with the legal immigration, I believe just updating our legal immigration process would help that as well. I think it's something that is not well understood by the average person. Obviously, because it's the average person in America doesn't have to deal with it. Only people who go through that process really have to deal with it, or people that have family members deal with that. So I think maybe some kind of update of this, modernization of this, to making it easier to do so. There obviously needs to be a background check, needs to be some kind of standardization with checking who we're allowing in this country. It can't just be anyone who just kind of wants the ideal lifestyle. As wonderful and moralistic as that might sound, it's just, I just think it's impractical. There's nothing wrong there's no reason that we should keep able-bodied men and women who can contribute to this country out of this country over paperwork and documents. With the culture loss, I just feel like that's going to be a problem with anyone with ever-changing times. People are always going to feel like they're losing their identities to this new world coming in, and it's happening faster and faster with the modern age with information. So whether we have physical people moving from countries over here or not, there is no doubt that having physical people moving from other countries, when they bring their culture with them, it is a is definitely increases that flow of culture, but there's always going to be culture flow in the information era, especially in a country like America where we don't have any restrictions, thank goodness, on our ability to access other the internet in its whole. It's not really, we allow that information, and with that is that culture flow is going to happen as well. People are going to be influenced. As far as growing up in a small Texas town, it was crazy to me, sushi, how popular that became. I don't think that's going to be because of the influx of Japanese immigrants to West Texas, but I think it's just naturally a culture thing that's happens inevitably. It's going to reach an area inevitably. So part of that culture thing, part of the way to, I think a solution against that is just strengthening your own culture and to ensure it's just survival. If you believe that you have something worth holding on to, it's great. But if naturally the best culture or the best of your culture is going to survive, as long as you hold on to it. And that's going to be a matter of I think that's an individual's responsibility as far as preserving that within their own family, within their, with their friends, as far as, I don't know if they keep an oral history or, kind of a legacy or just, chronicling, whatever that may be, but that's just going to I think that's an individual responsibility and really shouldn't be up to really a nation to try to regulate, because then it just gets really dangerous, I feel, at some point.
Right. So would you change the current immigration laws right now?
Yes, I would update them.
Okay. To make it easier, right? You mentioned that.
Or as far as, I think make them easier to understand, these outdated laws that we have that were, I think, put in a time to increase settlement and increase immigration to our country. I think some of that is outdated and perhaps should be looked at and maybe just struck down completely. I think it's definitely worth looking into. I mean, this is obviously causing problems enough, in the public to be mentioned over and over and over again. So we should obviously take a look into it if it's a priority.
Anyone that's born in the U.S., regardless of their parents' citizenship, is a U.S. citizen.
I believe that's right. I mean,
I think so too.
I don't see a problem with that.
I don't really either.
Economically, I don't know. I mean, if people were just hopping the fence all the time and
that's a common
shooting
thing.
Out babies.
It has a term, like anchoring, I think is what that's called.
An anchor baby, is that what they?
But I believe so is a derogatory term. Yeah.
Yeah. So is the parent deported though? If they catch the parent, does the parent get to stay with the child?
No, not necessarily.
No, because they use that. I guess that's what it's looked down upon.
Okay.
As an advantage to family members seeking to secure citizenship. So.
But that was and is a very common thing for families to do. Which again, like I have conflicting views on that because it's the law and they're abiding by the law technically.
Mm-hmm.
That's a right that we afford them. Is it exploitation? Possibly, but I mean, law the law.
As far as I don't believe there's a problem with immigration, but I think that there is a lot of complication involved with the immigration process.
And that's why. So what you're doing is
being reformed. I mean, essentially, I think the complication keeps it from being reformed.
So what you're saying,
it's hard for people to be involved with it,
is change the legal process to be more streamlined so there is less illegal immigration.
It's such a complicated beast now that
people just want to fuck it and just skip it and come in.
Like, as far as what is the reason for you or me to ever be involved in immigration unless we have a close family member or someone who is trying to immigrate? Yeah. There's not really anything. There's no reason for us to want to reform it whatsoever. I think it's obviously a very important issue to deal with in a country. The only people who are ever involved in it are the people that are seeing either the true negative part of it or the people that are trying to get over here, and that's two very polarized points of it.
Let's make America exclusive.
Jesus. That's pretty much exactly what Trump is saying. By making it great, we're making it exclusive, which actually is a pretty good tie-in to what my point was going to be. I don't think there is a problem with immigration other than some of the institutions surrounding it. I think ICE and Homeland Security have gone a little unchecked in some of the things that they can do in terms of breaking families up and having sort of aggressive means of deportation, similar to kind of what's happening with the policing riots at the moment. I think it has very similar sentiments that we are allowing this these entities and these these organizations that are built into America kind of just reign supreme and just do whatever the fuck they want to do because they can, and we've set them up in like from the ground up. They've been built on either racism or like whatever happens to work in their favor, right? Like they have things in place that help them work more effectively, where that could mean, you know, people sit in a cage and people's families are taken apart, or torn apart rather, and it's tragic. I think that is the problem with immigration, is how it has been addressed, which I guess isn't even addressing it. I think it's making us as Americans look bad, how we approach the refugee crisis in the world, and especially how we approach just any sort of asylum seeker. I think that even is way worse, because so my big point is, I don't think it's a problem. I think it helps the economy a ton, and that's like proven that it increases labor supply. So like more people are doing stuff, so more stuff gets done. So, and those families that are doing stuff make money, and they spend that money in the economy, which if they're in the US, it's the US economy. Everyone's better off, right? From an economic standpoint, is great. Now, I think that back to what Cutter was saying with like the cultural sort of aspect of it, I get why people have those concerns, but I think it's outdated, and I think it's inevitable in a globalist society, or world rather. I think it's just, it boils down to xenophobia for me, like people just being afraid of anything new, and that's not fair to anyone. From a very elementary point of view, like America was, well, it wasn't built on being the melting pot or anything, but that became a tenet of like who we were as a nation. We were a nation of diversity and welcoming and acceptance and working together and achieving this American dream that we have together. And now Homeland Security will not let that happen. ICE won't let that happen. Even with, I think, like even the main situation with ICE that I've heard, or the main like accounts that I've heard from ICE, the actions that they've committed against like families, is it's people that have like lived in the United States and worked in the United States, but just don't have citizenship. But say they've lived here for 10 years and they had a kid here, and they're going through school, and both parents have a job, but they're undocumented, and then all of a sudden you're gone. You have to move back to a country you haven't lived in 10 years, that you probably moved away from for a reason, to improve your situation, to get a better job, to get your child a better education, etc. And then one day that's just ripped out from underneath you with no recourse. You have nothing that you can do to stop it. So I think that's fucked. From a political science point of view, there's a balance between having, if we're talking just refugees in general, I think that there is a balance or a needle to thread with having too many refugees and having a supportive, welcoming world and nation and community that isn't afraid of refugees. Because, like, if for no other reason, we can go back to the economics of it. Like, these refugees will work. Like, they'll work for their keep and to stay alive. They're not just like collecting benefits. Yeah, exactly. Like a lot of these people are leaving war-torn countries or third world countries where they can't get an opportunity, and so they took a chance by coming here. So who are we to say that they can't pursue that for themselves? That being said, I think that this happened in Germany I think 2016, don't quote me on it, but there was a large influx of refugees in German communities, and they were like unable to support the volume of people that were coming. So that's a hard thing to deal with, because like where else do they go? They've left their home already. I think a lot of them were Syrian refugees. Can't send them back, but they can't stay here. So like where's our responsibility in that front? I don't know.
Well, can I ask a quick question to that?
Yes.
How are they now a few years later? Are they still overrun? Or has it
hasn't been in the news.
Worked itself out? There's going to be a temporary bottleneck maybe, but then.
Right. And then everyone kind of settles and like keeps dispersing or keeps looking for somewhere to be. I think so. I think that is very true. It's just like all at once and we don't know what to do, but then it just kind of solves itself. That's a good point. But I think all in all, I don't think there is an issue with immigration inherently. I think that specifically with somebody trying to improve their situation, to improve their quality of life, I see no issue with them leaving a bad situation to pursue a better one. I think that the roadblocks in between can be necessary, right? Like you made a good point, Cutter, that you can't just like let in criminals. You can't just let in whoever. Like I don't necessarily think that they have to prove themselves and prove their worth, but I think there should be more reasons for people to be allowed to the country than more reasons for them not to be allowed, right? It should be easier for them to get in than it is. And they certainly shouldn't be subjected to the violence and cruelty that they have been, specifically at the border of Mexico. Like that's inhumane. I don't know what the state of that is these days. I think it's not as bad as it was, hopefully. I'm privileged, kind of unfortunately, that I don't have to experience that on a day-to-day. Which
it's out of the news, right?
Well, and that's the thing.
Yeah,
like a lot of it is out of the news, and I don't know if that's out of convenience or out of like it's not of as big of an issue as it was. Also one other point that I had. So we've gone through points as a country, or we've ebbed and flowed in terms of how we approach refugees and asylum seekers and things of that nature. When it's in our best benefit, we'll allow refugees to come in, right? There's an article I was reading, but there was a labor shortage. Okay, so World War I, everyone was freaked out about everyone and just the state of the world, that we became a very closed country, and we were very wary about the amount of people that we were letting in. But after a while, there was a labor shortage and open the floodgates, right? And so fast forward. Now we're in this hate-fueled presidency that's all about xenophobia and nationalism and being a patriot. And so we don't want anybody that's not our kind, right? To the global community. Like that's what they're hearing. That's the rhetoric that Trump is telling everyone. It's like, stay over there. We don't want you. Where in reality, it would actually help his economy if he's claiming that it's his. It would help a lot if we had more workers, you know? That it's a tool that we can use, can either benefit or harm us. And I think that they're harming us kind of in a way right now with the violence and the exclusivity of coming into this country and the roadblocks in between. That I think it could be fixed. I think the rules could be lessened, but I don't necessarily think that means, you know, that everyone should come over all at once, right? Or else we have a overpopulation. All in all, I don't think it's an issue per se. I think how we address it is what's more important.
I like that because I agree with that, because you, especially when you said like the ebb and flow immigration, doesn't that kind of prove that we should be able to change immigration? I mean, it's obviously a changing thing. It's a ongoing issue that's going to have different situations, different wars, and different people moving in such in different times in our own country, whether we can like you take that or whether we cannot, and we have to turn them away, or what's moralistically, absolutely, I don't think there's absolutely the right thing to do. Take in immigrants, to allow people to come in to make a better life for themselves. But pure morals aside and everything, objective standpoint, it should be something that I think we evaluate and look into. But to do that, we have to be able to change it, like you said. Even if we have because if not, I think you do get gridlocked into these situations where you have these institutions that have gotten pretty powerful over, you know, getting resources for fighting immigration, whatever that really is anymore. You know, whether we should be fighting immigration, you know,
exactly. And
how
we're fighting it.
We should be able to change from the public standpoint, you know, pretty often to kind of evolve with the events of the world, because like you said, when it works out right, it is to our best interest. Giving your sick, giving your poor, that whole bit about, you know, you can make a life here for yourself where you can't make it anywhere else. We've definitely put that out there to the world, and that sentiment shouldn't necessarily blind us if there are problems with immigration. But at the same time, we kind of have to, at some point, you kind of have to, you know, walk the talk and actually, you know, carry through with that. And so America should be one of those places that is allowing people in, and, you know, as far as that is open to immigration more than most places. I feel like, you know, kind of what we preach, is it not? So,
yeah, exactly. That's what we used to preach, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't have any objections to it. My turn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, number one, the American dream is dead, boys. All right. So.
Okay.
So
I'll accept it.
House.
You just bought a house, yeah. How's that
With-
mortgage treating you, bud?
with the little white fence out front too.
Yeah, right.
Not even a joke. It does.
Does it actually? That's funny.
Yeah.
How
Okay. I have two solutions for immigration. I don't think immigration itself is a problem that we need to solve. I don't think I think we all agree on that. There isn't anything bad about immigration. It's the perspective of it and the regulations and the laws around immigration that need to change or that need to be looked into. A couple scenarios that I think will help with that, and then the ideal scenario is that we don't have borders because they're imaginary things that do not exist. But then that would look like a global society, and you can't have that many rulers, and that would be weird to have one emperor or president over the entire world. So I don't know what that would look like. It would be much better if everyone could just, think for themselves and not shoot people and have wars and do bad things. That would be fantastic. And then a global society would work. So that would be the ideal futuristic scenario. But I think some of the problems around immigration are ways that we can help improve it and fix it is increase the amount of legal migration that we are allowed to have. Because if people saw that it was something that was achievable and you can do, that there's a chance for it, then you're going to have less illegal immigration, which I think that's what most people get caught up on is, people are just coming over here illegally.
That's a good distinction, actually.
Most of the time, it's because the process is so effed up and they can't go through that because legal immigration is so hard to do that they're forced to do it illegally. And then there's a lot of, like you said, xenophobia and a lot of these fears where people think, they're criminals, they're disease, they're, that this anxiety about infection of coming in, and they're going to be carrying over some, smallpox and blankets or something like that that's going to infect us and it's going to destroy us. Educating people, whether it's in school systems or on the news, instead of bombarding people with, that's what the news does, as, has all these stories that is dramatized and it's action and fear and it makes people want to panic because then people watch it. But if there was actually a news source out there that would give facts and say, you know what, they're not diseased. Most of them are just wanting to leave their country to get to a better life, to get to that promise of the American dream. If we can educate people about that and lessen the fears, then there wouldn't be so much tension around it. And then the policymakers would be more inclined to pass laws to make immigration more lax. I think. Does that make sense? Because they don't want to do something and allow more people in, and then they have most of the American public angry at them and cause mass hysteria of, oh my gosh, all of these refugees are funneling in, and then there would be riots or anything. I don't know. Something going on, mass hysteria. Or if we could recognize and understand that immigrants are vulnerable, and
For sure.
they're in a vulnerable situation. They are humans. They aren't a number or a statistic. There's a lot more that just goes in to say, we're not a nightclub of being like, we're at max capacity. Sorry, you have to stay out on the street tonight or you can't get in. I smell something burning in my house.
Yeah, you go check it out.
Hold on.
Okay.
I'll be right
Take your
back. It's those immigrants. They're setting us on fire. Heather's making pizza for lunch tomorrow. Okay. But people are so racist and xenophobic, so scared of anything that's different than them. They're dogs, they're lesser than, they're this. I mean, it's terrible. They're human beings. They're no better.
They're going through a lot more than whoever's judging them is.
Yeah.
A little empathy would be nice, right, for everyone.
Exactly.
Probably improve lots of things.
Yeah.
Like they're uprooting their whole life somewhere else and taking a risk.
But at the same time, I don't think that it should just be a free-for-all. I do, so I can't say that and then say I wish that there was just this global community.
I just think it should be just assessed as, is there a threat from allowing these people in from here? And it's just taking on another bunch of factors. We're not at war with Mexico, but
Let me
Is
ask
that
this:
is the immigration pipeline, is that a main way for something bad to happen?
Yeah,
I mean, it's just,
yeah.
that's
I
the
don't
thing you have
think
to look
so.
at.
I
Yeah.
don't think so.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's just all it is. And
Is
it's just
immigration
that.
stopping the bad people that want to do bad things from doing bad things? No,
No, and a lot of them
absolutely
are
not.
already American. So
Exactly.
Yeah, and
Most
so,
of them are. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that just should be just assessed. But I think the biggest, the biggest problem I just see with it is just I guess, the public fear of it, which, like you said, you alleviate with education and empathy. But you just, but that's their biggest fear of it is the idea of the wrong people, and
Yeah.
that definition can be subjective to many people in a very bad way. Yeah, it'd be great. I mean, it'd be wonderful if there's no downside at all to just having it be a free for all. But there's a reason it hasn't ever happened. There's obviously
It's also
some
having the infrastructure to support it. My only concern with having a free for all is that bottleneck type of situation of not having the resources to sustain it. I think that's another problem. People should just stop having kids.
I want to argue with you, but I totally agree.
But
because that's already putting a strain on everything, right? Like that's a different issue entirely. But it kind of could have the same detrimental effects that we won't be able to solve easily.
And as much as nice as it would be for everyone to want to, if you could tell everyone if they would just lower their standard of living by a little bit so that other people could vastly improve theirs. I feel like a majority of people would never do that. You can't really have having immigration, I guess, continue, or I guess having immigration come when people are very against it, I think causes further problems down the road. I think that's probably part of the reason that the institutions have become so kind of out of control now is probably from aggressive, approach to it that somehow became, the popular form of how to do it. That became the norm of how to do it.
How you deal with it. So then, Tyler, what would you change?
I would attempt,
because there's the balance between the free for all and the checks and balances of a fair immigration.
I think that what I was talking about of what we would have to do would be a step in the right direction, but we would have to do that. And we could just immediately go for a free for all, but that's going to cause a lot of catastrophic things to happen. But if it's something that we could move towards and had steps in place, I think those are the right steps. Is one, increase legal immigration, because if we can systematically start spreading people out more, then that sort of global community just starts to happen naturally in a more peaceful, streamlined process.
And then back to what you were saying about how that process is viewed, then as it becomes more of a viable option for people, then more people are interested, then it could just naturally happen, definitely more frequently, right? People, the more people that are interested in it, proportionally, the more people that are going to come into the country.
But think about it this way. If that were the case, though, not just on the U.S.-Mexico border, but everywhere, if it was a lot easier for me to move to Italy or Spain or somewhere pretty in Mexico, I would do it too. So we're going to have people leave America. We're going to have people come in, and
That's true, actually. That's a good point. We would have emigration as well, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, is that do you mean as far as giving up your citizenship to go to another place or so forth? Or is it just living there for a while or wanting to be American? Would you return to America?
It could be either.
It could be either, yeah.
I mean, it depends. I mean, Heather and I definitely want to live in a different country at some point in our lives. It could be for the rest of our lives. It could be for a few years. I don't know. But
I was just thinking
I want to experience what that's like, at least in one other country. I don't want to have lived in America my entire life. Because guess what, boys? I don't think we're the greatest country on earth.
I don't either.
I just think of immigration when you leave somewhere for good with no intention of returning that's what I think of or consider immigration, I guess.
Okay, instead of just traveling on a visa.
Yeah,
you're actually giving up your citizenship.
It's a true. I mean, because that's what I think of people going into our country. It's
I'd give up.
I'm not going back.
I'd give up my citizenship, but I would want the ability to get it back, or maybe just dual citizenship at that point. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the only reasons I would do
like-
that were for job purposes or taxes. If you're a citizen of a country, it's easier to get theoretically a job.
Pretty good blanket statement. Say a country probably gives its citizens more opportunities than it gives people who are non-citizens, right? Yeah,
Right.
so-
Exactly.
Depending on what the
job is.
and like what the industry is.
Oh, I mean, I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
overall blanket
But in
statement
general,
as far as like it's probably easier to navigate the system
Right.
of Germany.
like same job.
You know, just really,
Same
frankly, just
person.
anything, yeah, just some taxes, whatever it might be, So
For sure. That makes sense.
And then understanding that is a scary thing for anybody. Even if I was doing it, it would be scary, and I would hope that I wouldn't be treated like garbage or treated like lesser than, just treated like a human going into it, and that could lead to a utopia.
A borderless utopia.
Yeah, that's my solution. Fruitopia.
or
What about Zootopia?
Zootopia. We all turn into animals.
We're all furries.
oh god.
Next episode, how to solve furries. Kidding.
Join them.
Good luck. But I think
Damn it,
yeah, common
Julep.
theme in all of our stuff is definitely it's immigration within itself isn't the problem. It's our approach to it.
Yeah.
And it's our perception of it, I guess, or perception of it rather.
I think so.
I agree.
Yeah.
Because the people that are immigrating aren't bad.
No.
Inherently. Not necessarily. Any
All right.
closing thoughts? I think I'm set.
Yeah, I feel like
Spoke
we
my
saw
piece.
it.
I feel like
Set.
who
Three white
won?
guys, all
I feel like out
immigrants.
of anyone, I would vote
I don't-
Tyler.
I don't think that we should vote on this one. I think that we should just all agree.
Yeah. I feel like we're all pretty level with how we all feel about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll agree that immigration is okay. Don't be xenophobic. Don't be racist. Don't hurt people unless they deserve it.
There you go.
And say
But
yes, ma'am,
mixed
yes,
messages,
sir,
yeah.
no, ma'am, no, sir, thank you. Mind your yeses and nos.
That's just culture.
We live in a society.
Hey, stay tuned for after the credits for a special bonus. Okay, well, this
Very
episode is
French.
dedicated to
That's all the
Sebastian.
French.
All the
Sebastian!
French. Yes.
Sebastian, I haven't changed my number. Please text me. Let's be friends again. Oh.
Damn.
Wow.
Was that your stomach?
She's never done that before.
She's
Are you okay?
She's just talking.
Like,
Oh my
Jesus.
god, she's never done that. That's hysterical.
Does she
You
just want
okay?
attention?
Maybe. She's just on the couch.
She was just saying hi to everybody.
Oh.
Hi, Julep.
Julep, what's going
I have-
on?
I have expected like a blonde girl tied to a radiator or something. Just like, she just wants attention.
Shut up!
Oh, yeah, stop.
Throw some water
Babe.
on her.
Babe, I'm doing a podcast. Shut
Yeah.
the fuck up.
Let's get a little heroin back. Here, that'll keep you busy. Just fling it over in the corner.
Oh my god.